Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's daf. So let's just go back for a second. The last piece that we learned about the Shabbos, the drasha that we're handling over there was Rabbi Yochanan was saying that you learn out from the Isha Ashishka the Isha Shishka Isha Dava V'Gila Savasa that the blood has to come out of her rechem, and not that if she gets a nosebleed, she's tummy for 7 days. So that's that drasha, and the other number Taka doesn't hold that. It doesn't hold that drasha. Okay, that's yesterday. Onward and upward. The Mishnah says the Talmei she'achal es hakodesh and uvala kodesh uvala mikdash tar tamei. So right, those two cases. So those two cases. That's what these two cases are what the Mishnah is what the Gemara is going to address right now. So again, let's just a little background. We need for each Isser, again, not according to Rabbi Kiva, but according to Moshe, this you need a Hazara for Kares also. Rabbi Kiva says we don't need a Hazara for Kares, but that's a Machlaikis. But if you need a Hazara for Kares, you definitely need a Hazara for Makkos, according to everybody, and he says Bezdin. So you need a Hazara, and you need to know what the Einish is. So we're going to try. We have to figure out where the Hazara is. If it's not obvious, the Gemara has to go through and figure it out. So here's this is where we're up to. I have a Hazara and an Einish for the Isser of going into the Mikdash if someone is Tami. Einish es Mishkan Hashem Timei v'Nechrasa. So you see the Einish for being Matama. You're not mamish matama the mikdash by going in, but if you go into the mikdash tamei, someone goes to the mikdash tamei, then he gets kares. The Azara is below yitama es machaneim. You should not be matama my machana. Ella tamish achal as a kaidesh bishleim ma'aynish ksiv v'hanefesh ashataychel bas mizevach Hashem ashal Hashem v'tumasei Allah. Somebody eats kaidesh and his tumah is still on him. He should get kares. Ella Azar minai. Where does it ever tell you not to eat hektish? Not to eat Kaidish Tamei. And the Gemara, so we're going to Machlekes, Rish Lakish, and Rechon, it's going to take us basically most of the day. It's going to morph into different Machlekes, but this is what we're going to be dealing with the rest of the day, the rest of the night. Rish Lakish, Amar B'chol Kaidish L'Siga, it says, now this is a Gabe Oyeledes, that she should not touch Truma, she shouldn't eat Truma, and it says, the Lashon B'chol Kaidish L'Siga, she should not touch any Kaidish. Now, a woman can usually not eat Kachim anyway. Only a man Kayin can eat Kachim. Kachim. So a woman knows if someone has a shalom, they bring home. Or Yisrael brings home. His wife could also have. But as far as kaidish kachim is as far as that's concerned, a woman cannot eat that. But she could eat truma. This pasuk is talking about truma. And so this is the isser. We'll skip to the end of the Gemara. This isser is the isser of eating truma, not touching truma. The Gemara is going to bring a raya for that later. But this pasuk is b'chol kaidish. A woman cannot eat. Well, no one can eat, but it's just talking about a woman who's a Yailadis cannot eat Truma when she's still Tameh. So that's Rabbi Yochanan's limud from Truma. Again, we're going to address all these problems in a second. How does it learn from Truma? But this is what we're up to right now. We have a Gzeir Shava Tumasei from what we just said of Habal Kaidish, and the Einish we said was that's the Einish of eating truma and of eating kachim tamei, not eating tamei kachim, eating kachim while you are tamei, and the Hazara we already had. I think it's in. Hold on. Yeah, it's the Einish. It's the Einish. The Einish, the pasuk as Mishkan Hashem Ashatime. That's the end of the pasuk is that we said was the Einish of eating of Habala Mikdash Tamei. So we're making a Gzeir Shava from the Habala Mikdash Tamei to Eichel Kadesh Tamei, Tamish Eichel Kadesh, and just like we already have a Hazara by Habala Mikdash Tamei, so we're going to copy paste that Hazara to Eichel Mikdash, Eichel Tamish Eichel Kadesh. Tamish Kadesh Bishlam Einish Chesiva Nefesh Shteichel Basim B'Zevach Shamash Hashem V'Dmasei Alam V'Nichsa. Ela Azar B'Nayin Rish Lakish. I'm just chazing quickly. but Rish Lakish says we learn it from the pasuk by Truma by Yelades. Rabbi Yechon Amar Tani Badla Atzi Tumasi Tumasi Ksiv Hachav Tumasi Alav Benichasa the Ksiv Hasam Tamiyah Oid Tumasi. I'm sorry, Malalan Einish Hazar Afkan Einish Hazar. So now the Gemara is going to go through the reasoning of each Amira as we very often do. He did not have the Messiah of this Gzei Shavna, which is interesting to point out. Rish Lakish is, everyone knows, Rabbi Yochanan was the one who found Rish Lakish when he's jumping over the Yadin, the whole Maisa, and he brought him into yeshiva. So he was his rabbi. How does Rabbi Yochanan have a Gzei Shavna that Rish Lakish doesn't? So it's brought down that Rish Lakish was originally in yeshiva. He went off the derech, became a gangster, and then Rabbi Yochanan brought him back. But when he was originally learning in yeshiva, he never had the Messiah. He never had the Messiah, so he stayed without the Messiah. My time How come Rish Lakish doesn't learn like Rish Lakish? Now, very often we had this even in the Megillah that the Gemara asks, "It's the Davar Pasha. If I have the Gzei Shav, I have to have it." So Taisus learns because of that. That's not the Iker Kasha of the Gemara. We just want to know. We just want to continue the conversation and understand why where Rabbi Yochanan learns out his Hazara for Truma. Just to continue the conversation, the Gemara asks this. This is what we want to get to. Just to continue the conversation, so we ask it this way. But of course, it's not a real question. And this film is not like that, but that's whatever. It's how it flows. That you just told me is Hazar for Truma. What does that have to do with Kachin? So what does he have Hazar L'Truma? If he uses B'chol Chodesh L'Siga to tell me that I cannot eat Kachim B'Tuma, then how do I know Hazar for Truma B'Tuma? It says the whole pasuk is, let's do it quick. Ish ish mizera Aaron v'hu tzaru oizav. He's a mitzayir or he has a ziva. But kacham la'echa asher yitar v'hanegeh but tmei nefesh oy ish asher yiteitzi mimenu shech v'zera. Any of these things, whether it's tamei meis, shech v'zera, keri, zav, or mitzayir or kayin, cannot eat kachim. Cannot eat Kachim. Now, what does that mean, Kachim? So, Ezel Dava Shehu Shava Bezari Shalamin. So, Ish is mashma any across the board, all of Aaron's kids. Who's going to get to all Aaron's kids? Now, first of all, I don't think a Chol can eat Truma. A Chol cannot eat Truma anyway. But Ish means men and women. Now, what Kaidesh can a Chol cannot eat Truma? Which Kaidesh can a woman also eat? We just said Harezeh Truma. V'idach hahula achila v'idach Rabbi Yochanan. What does he do with this pasuk ish ish? Hahula achila v'hala nagia. He learns ish like Rabbi Yochanan does. That it's talking about achila because it says very simple ish mizer Aaron v'hu tzurah, and it says lo yochel ashi yitar. You should not eat it. But the pasuk that we said v'chol chodesh l'siga, it's talking about touching. That's only touching. It's isser to touch truma, that to be mitama truma. Now you don't get misa for that, which also you would get misa for eating truma tamei, but either way you don't get truma misa for nagia. But so the Gemara is going to go through Rish Lakish. We're going to go back and forth. Rish Lakish, Hai b'chol chodesh l'siga lahachi hudas. In fact, the Gemara, Rish Lakish lahai, Rish Lakish Hai b'chol chodesh l'siga lahachi hudas. Could it come to tell me that I cannot eat kachim b'tuma? I needed to tell me that I can't touch truma. I cannot touch kachim. Now again, even Rish Lakish is not going to learn that this pasuk is going to be chayiv misa for touching kachim. That's not a thing. There's no einish. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that if you touch kachim tamei you die. It doesn't say anywhere. But we have a hazara that it's aser, so you get Makkos. The itmar. So Rish Lakish uses this pasuk leisiga of b'chol kodesh leisiga to teach me that I can't touch kachim. So how do I learn out that how do I say that it's talking about that it's eating truma, that it's what do we want to say? Well, how do we want to say that you cannot eat kachim? Originally, we said that he said that the hazara is that you cannot eat kachim from v'chol kodesh leisiga, and now he's saying that it's a negia. I hope you violate the tami shenaga b'kodesh the itmar tami shenaga b'kodesh reshakish amar leika v'yechan amar ena leika. It's machlekes whether you get malchus or someone gets malchus if they touch kodesh b'tama. Reshakish amar leika b'chol kodesh leisiga. Reshakish says the Hazara for Makkos is so I cannot touch kachim when I'm tummy. Ain't like why? Because that puzzle that you just brought me is like what he said before is only for truma, and you have no Hazara for kachim. Now, how do I know that this is talking about Nigia? How do I know? So the Gemara answers that this is talking that you have both limudim over here. Why? I learned out Nigia b'Kodesh because the Hazar la'Eichel. We just said that he uses this pasuk for Hazar for Eichel. He's going to bring a raya how he sees it in a second. And it can't be. And it can't. This Hazara is for Achila. We'll see. The next two words is going to explain how. And because I use Hazara for Achila with Hazara with a lashon of Negia, therefore I learn both. I learn Sai Achila, that's the Iker Hazara, and that the Einish I have is Kares, and the Negia it's Makkos. But I have Hazara for Makkos also. How do we know? It's because I'm making the pasuk. We're going to bring down the pasuk in a second, but the pasuk is makish eating kachim and betuma and going into the kodesh tameh. Now, just like the hazar, just like the einish for both is kares, it must be just like the einish for going in to the Beis Hamikdash is betuma is misa. So too it must be the hazara that we're talking about for kodesh is also for Misa. Vakati lahachudasa. How mi bayile the tamish basar kodesh lefnei zukas adam. Just go back for a second. He's saying that the pasuk of the Hazara. I want to make sure it's clear. The Hazara of the Chol Kodesh Loi Siga. It cannot just be that it's talking about Truma, because he's saying that that's the Hazara. And the Hazara has to be going on something that's Isser Kares. The same way that the Hazara for going into the Hektish is Isser Kares. So that's how he knows that pasuk is talking about is talking about is not just Negia. It's also talking about Achila where there's Achiv Misa, and the fact that he uses a Negia by Achiv Misa shows me also Isser Negia. Okay. Again, but the Gemara asks, how could you tell me, even though you have this, now you managed to split this pasuk into two dimensions, and you said that it's an Isser Achila, the Iker is Hazar Achila, so therefore what? Eating Kaddish B'Tumah is Chayiv Misa, and I have a Lashon Negia by Achila, which tells me that Isser Negia is Chayiv Malchus, right? But the Gemara, when I have part of the process for karbanis is zrika. It's one of the four avodas, and that is they spray the blood on the parechas or on the mizbech, whatever. Every carbon on it's whatever a kalafi. Wherever it's every carbon as it's appropriate, and that is the point where it becomes mutter. After the zrikas adam is when the kahanim can eat the leftovers, the balam can eat the leftovers, whatever is mutter to the balam only happens after the zrika. Now, how do I know that's machlekes? What happens if there's no zrikas adam or before the zrikas adam? The kain right away he's hungry. He puts it on the grill and he eats it. Or the balam they leave and they make a barbecue right outside Hazara. Well, what happens? So because Rabbi Yechanan holds, there's no isser, there's no heter achila. The only isser of eating karbanas betuma is only on a carbon that I had that I was able to eat betara. Over here, the question is not if it's mutter to eat or not. Zecher aser, because first of all, the person's tameh. The question is if he's going to stack labim. Is he just going to get the lab of eating a carbon before Zrikas Adam, or is he also going to get the lab for eating the carbon, the Tumah? So this is the Makkos Rishlakish and Rabbi Yechanan. So, and it's all going to tie into each other. Itma Tamish Achal Basakaj Zrikas Adam. Rishlakish Amar Leika. Rishlakish Amar Leika. Why B'chol Kodesh Lo Siga? Again, same pasuk. He's mamish pounding this pasuk. What's his diak? At least now in the Gemara, what's his diak? Because it says loisiga. In other words, even a carbon, even food that even kodesh that's not edible, it's only sigaable, it's only touchable, but it's not edible. Even that I shouldn't eat tamei. So that's a hazara on eating basar lefnei zrika b'tumah. He has this, the way we know that eating kachim is aser b'tumah is with this gzeir tumasi. In the pasuk of kachim, it's only written the word tumasa is talking about after the zrika. So therefore, I have no limit to tell me koydem zrika that I stack yisurim. Again, it's not mutter according to anybody to eat food, to eat karbanis before the zrika. The question is if I'm also going to get klapped for eating it b'tumah. The Gemara hahi mikol kodesh nafka. So we have Reish Lakish has this 3-word pasuk limud, right? It says what's the lashon? I said it 5 times. I should know it. Loi b'chol kodesh leisiga. That's not what it is. Hold on. B'chol kodesh leisiga. I got it right. Right? B'chol kodesh leisiga. So I learned out 3 things from this. From b'chol kodesh leisiga, simple. We know that we have to be giving a hazara for achilas kachim b'tumah because we're making a hekesh from kodesh to kodesh. That just like by mikdash it's a dinner, we're talking about matters of life and death. So too, this pasuk is talking about matters of life and death. That's his hekesh, and that therefore this is an isser. This is a hazara for achilas kachim b'tumah, even though it's written by truma. Okay, that's limud number 1. Limud number 2 is because I say this hazara for achila in a lashon of negia. That shows me that even though. What does it show me? It shows me that it's also to touch kachim as well, the tuma, even though it's not kares. It's not kares. It's a lav, and I think you would get Makkos off that. And the third drasha from this pasuk is because there's b'chol kodesh leisiga. That's also we learn out from there that even if the kodesh did not have zukas adam done to it, and it's also to eat b'chlal. There's no heter achila at all. No one could eat this. It's completely not edible halachically. So too, still imkals that if I eat it, but tumah I'm over 2 isurim. Fine. So that's what he does. That's Reish Lakish how he hits that pasuk. Rabbi Yochanan is very simple. Rabbi Yochanan has the pasuk leisiga that's talking about truma and the way he knows that you can't eat kodesh b'tumah is tumasai, and it's only achar azrika. I have a riot, and again, it's not mutter to eat, and l'chayra but you don't get 2 Makkos. You don't get Makkos for that. How do you say the Reish Lakish b'chol kodesh l'siga azar lo'eichel? B'chol kodesh. So this brisa now is going to expound on this what we said before. B'chol kodesh l'siga azar lo'eichel. This b'chol kodesh l'siga that we said by truma by yaladas is talking about azar for eating betuma. You're saying that it's azar l'oichel. Who said it says in the game? Maybe it just means negaya. Why are you upgrading? It says one pasuk together. In this pasuk itself. Well, that was the part. Okay, this pasuk. Where is this pasuk? Here. This is by Yichri Beis Daled. In that pasuk itself, it's saying that the first half of the pasuk and the second half of the pasuk have to be talking about something that of similar caliber. So the end of the pasuk is talking about that she should not walk into the Beis Hamikdash. And what's her punishment if she walks into the Beis Hamikdash? Misa. So too, the first part of the pasuk that says has to also be talking about something that the punishment is misa. Dahainu achila is kachim b'tumah. Okay, fine, givaldik. So to the beginning of the pasuk, it's talking about which is achila. The ibn agia. Even Nagia Mi'ika Natila, and if you're going to say that it's talking about Natia, Nagia, Mi'ika Natilas Neshama Ella Bachila. Is there any passage that says if you touch Kachim B'Toma, you die? No. So Ella Ba'achila must be the Hazara for something that we already know. Ba'inish is Misa. Now we can't say that we should learn from here that Nagia is Chayim Misa because it doesn't say Einish over here. It only says the Hazara here. I think that's clear, but I just wanted to make sure. I just like that just clicked in my head right now. We cannot say that this is also talking about giving Chayim Misa and Echanami because this is just Hazara. There's no Einish mentioned in the pasuk. This is important to know. Rabbi Chana is saying this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan because that's gonna be relevant in 2 lines. Okay, so a little Hagdama. Then we touched on it briefly of say, which is, for example, Gzela. If someone steals money, and the pasuk says, so we learn out that you do not get Makkos from this because the only way to Makayim, the mitzvah, in other words, this assay is not a standalone assay. This assay is directly tied to and given for to be misakin the leis assay. So it says, do not steal, and if you do steal, you can return. So what does that teach you? It teaches you that the Torah decided what your tikkun is. Your tikkun is to do the lav, to do the assay that I just told you, and not malchus. That is the basics of that is the basics. Now, what happens if the assay is written before the leis assay and is also negeya before the leis assay kicks in? So we're going to see examples. Actually, I'm not sure if we're going to bring down an example over here. I don't have an example off the top of my head. Right? I think Rashi. Hold on 1 second. Rashi does not give an example. Rashi is not giving an example. The Gemara might say something. Let's stay tuned. And I say even if again lav and nitik say I think everyone holds that you don't get malchus. The question is if the assay is before the lav the leis say if that's considered lav and nitik say. But let's just say should kadmu assay loikin alav. Amalai. So this was said in the name of Yochanan. So the Hamidim who did not hear from Yochanan directly, they said to him, Rabbi, you said this Varti Amar Lahu, he said, Loi. Amar Rabba Haleihem, Lashon Shvua. Amra, you said this for Ksiva, and it's written in the Pasuk, the Tanina, and we learned it in our Mishnah. Now our Mishnah, it's Tamei, that's what it is. Okay, it's going to the Mikdash Tamei. Because it says don't it says send them out of the machana, and don't be matama machana. Now, sending someone out of the machana is a positive commandment that's before the person is matama the machana. If he's not in the machana, let's say, you could send him away, and he never walks into the machana. So you see the shlicha is first. The send them out is before the v'lo yitama es machaneim. So that's the pasuk. Tanina haba l'mikdash. Tanina habala mikdash tamei, and we learned in our Mishnah, someone who goes into the Mesa Mikdash or Mikdash tamei, he gets malchus. So you see a lav that's before, so it is like Rabbi Yochanan. So why was he chayzer and said no, I didn't say this? It's our Mishnah and it's a pasuk. Ela my time a kahadabe. So there's a bunch of back and forth over here. Let's try to hold up, and this is Hashem. Ela my time kahadabe. Why did he retract this halacha of a kol lav she kadmu say like in a lav. Mishum the kasha le einis. There's a kasha from the halachas of einis. Someone who's ma'anis a woman, he has a chiyuv to marry her, and he's not allowed to divorce her. If he divorces her, he could take her back. So let the Gemara do the work. The Tanya einis shegirish, if someone's megarish his wife, who's a zanusa in Yisrael, who machzev ein eloika. If he's a Yisrael, he could marry a divorced woman, and he can. Then he could take her back and he doesn't get malchus. If he's a kain and he divorces his wife, who's an anusa, his anusa, he cannot be chayzer her because it's issa to be machzer gusha, even his own grusha. Therefore he gets malchus. Im Yisrael who machzer ein eloika amai loisa seishakadmu asay hu veloki. See, it's a loisa seishakadmu asay. Look, you see, he gets malchus So what's the problem? Amalai. Let's say shekadmu asay v'hu amar ula. Why is this a kasha on him? This is a riot. Let's just say 1 second.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You need to explain the problem of Yisrael divorcing his wife.
There's no problems. Why?
Exactly. There's no problems. Why the Gemara talks about it?
It's not a problem. If he's not allowed to divorce his wife, if he was ma'anis her. If he's ma'anis her, it says he's not allowed to send her out forever.
So he has
it's
to
for Yisrael to divorce his wife, right?
Right.
To divorce his wife,
but he takes her back. Got it.
Now, if he takes it right, so if he takes it back, it doesn't matter. So if Yisrael who machzav ein elika, oh, so in other words, the kasha is, why should he be able to be nitik la'aseh? According to Rechanan made it sound like even if you do the asay, you still, even if you do the asay, hold on. Even if you do the asay, you would get Makkos. And over here the Brisa says you don't get Makkos. Okay, very good. Rechanan says, you get the Makkos even if you do the asay. There is no nitik la'aseh, there is no tikkun over here. Over here we said, no, it is a tikkun. Because in Yisrael who machzav ein elika. If he's the Yisrael, he could take her back and he doesn't have to take Makkos. You see, it's allowed in nitik la'aseh, even if it's shekadmu la'aseh. But furthermore, amai loisa say shekadmu la'aseh hu beloki. The pasuk is going to be. The Gemara is going to be another pasuk in a second, but let's see if we get. Okay, the Gemara is going to. Where is that here? Yeah, the nasan isha sheikh ima lavi anara chamishim kasef loisia leisha tachas asher ina loyuchal shalcha kol yama. So it says loyuchal shalcha. First he says you can't send, and then it says you should be with. First he says he should be a wife. It's a positive commandment. She should be a wife to you, and then it says don't send her. So you see that the asay of living with her is before the lav of divorcing her, and you see that he does not get Makkos as long as he maintains this relationship. Fine. Okay. Amar Ula lo yomar lo sia leisha ba'onis lo yomar lo sia leisha ba'onis v'ligma mitzvah. So don't say. So Ula says like this. This lo sia leisha lo with the vav for all those vavpeh lo yomar. Amar Ula lo yomar. It should not say lo sia leisha for him. She should be a wife ba'onis. I don't need him to say by a anusa that it should be for his wife, and we should learn it out that by a mitzvah shemra, if he has to marry her, then of course by a inus he has to marry her. Why? He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything. He didn't do a mice. All he did was badmouth his wife. And still he has to keep her forever. He did something horrible to her. Of course he has to marry her. So now, because Loisia Loi with a Vav is extra by Arnis. And in the fun of Tanei Indian Acharav, we have this idea where we borrow limudim. So because I don't need it for before, because of course I have to marry her, because if I have to marry her, if I have to keep her as a wife as a Matashemra, then of course I have to keep her as a wife as an Anusa. So that's extra. So I keep it for afterwards. That after, if I divorce her, I could remarry her, and that's a lava nitaglasei l'chol l'kuliyama. Shem girish yachzer, and in the shem girish yachzer. So even though chronologically in the pasuk I have v'loisia leisha before the pasuk of you should not divorce her. I have in the pasuk in the order it says Loisi Elisha and then it says Loichel L'Shalcha, but because it's obvious again right now it's obvious that I have to marry her, so I could use this I have to marry her for afterwards and say that it's a lava netiklasei. The problem is I can't learn out why I can ask very simply we know that a Mitzvah Shemra, if not only it's a special limit by Mitzvah Shemra that he gets Makkos for lying about his wife, and he also has to pay the 100 kesef to his father-in-law. So there's a huge chumrah by Mitzvah Shemra. So maybe dafka over there where there's such a big chumrah, I have to marry her. But who says by Ainis, I have to marry her? The ligma is go the other way. If it's such a chaymer, so like this. I don't need to know. So say it the other way. If it's such a chaymer by Mitzvah Shemra, so don't say Laisia Isha by Mitzvah Shemra, and only say it by Ainis. And I learn out. Ma Ainis in like Mishalim Amrachman of Laisia Isha Mitzvah Shemra like Kol Shekain V'Lomen Nemar. So I'm going to take the way you see Elisha that's before, that's in the beginning of the pasuk by Mitzvah Shemra. I'm going to put it to the end of the pasuk by Ainis. So they each have a chamer. This is very common in Gemara. They each have a tzad chamer. So I cannot learn one from the other, and basically I need both Leisiyah Ishas inside Mitzvah Shemra because it has a chamer. But I can't learn Mitzvah Shemra from Ainis because Ainis was a Maisa and Mitzvah Shemra was Dibra, and I can't learn Ainis from Mitzvah Shemra because Mitzvah Shemra is like Mishalim and Ainis is not. The point is over there, it's completely extra because she's already married to him. The whole sugya of Mitzvah Shemra is that he walks into the business and says, I married this woman and I did not find Basulam. So he married her. So I have to say that he should be for a wife. It's already done. The low lucky. So for the Gemara, maybe I should keep it for the Mitzvah Shemra by itself. I know it's the Loisi Elisha by Mitzvah Shemra, even though it's not important to tell me that I have to marry her because I'm already married to her. The guy who's Mitzvah Shemra is already married to this woman that we're talking about. So what do you have to say for Loisi Elisha? So maybe keep it for if he divorces her, then he could take this Loisi Elisha as a nitik lasei. Yeah. So do that, and now I'm going to learn Ainis from Mitzvah Shemra. That just like Mitzvah Shemra is allowed in Nitik Lasei because this Loisi Isha is afterwards, technically. So too, we're going to learn now about Ainis. Tomorrow, how are you going to learn it? We just went through this. Asi Ainis v'gam minei. Tomorrow, my gam minei. Iba kavachayim. Iba mamatzinu. Ekel mifra. We just went through this. You cannot show me that Mitzvah Shemra, you cannot learn Ainis from Mitzvah Shemra because Mitzvah Shemra did not do a Maisa. But Ainis, because an Ainis, but Ainis did do a Maisa, so who said that you have a lava nitik lasei? Ella Amirava call Yamav ba'amid v'hechser. This call Yamav means that he shouldn't send her out for his whole life. So it's coming to teach you that there's an opportunity. Kol Yom hints at another shidduch later on, another taking her back later on, which is going to be after he sends her. Because what you don't have to use, he says, you can't send her out. What's Kol Yamav? Kol Yamav means forever, which means even if there is a sending out, he could always take her back later on. That's how the Gemara learns it now. That's the Gemara learns. Ba'amad v'hechser. Amalei Papa the Rav v'halei dami lave chasima. We had before that all lavim, the way we know, Mr. Bishmal, the way he learns, it seems like the way we learn that a lav she'im by maisa, or a lav, or mitzvah say all these mitzvahs do not have malchus is because it has to be dumi the lav de chasima. Right? You cannot muzzle your ox while he's plowing. Amalei mishum dechsibe rachmana. Okay, so that's the question. The question is if it's allowed in the asay, even though the asay is before, it's not compared to the lav de chasima. And Amalei, so Rava answers back. Mishum de Kasav Barachmana Asay Yisera Migragara. We learned already before when we were doing it. It doesn't have to be exactly like it. It just can't be worse than it, right? Because a lav de chasima. The lav de chasima, nobody holds you get kares or Mrs. Bezin, and yet there are shitas that hold that you get kares or you get Makkos by kares Mrs. Bezin anyway. So it doesn't have to be copy paste exactly like lav de chasima, but it can't be worse than it. And that's what you see the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say it so clearly on Gimel Beis, but over here you see it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more. It hints to that more. It's worse than it. No, if it's better than it, then it would be. You would be able to learn it out from there. So the only thing is that if it's worse than it. So then, if that's the case, that having a lav before it doesn't make it worse, then a lav after also shouldn't make it worse. Lav should say nami. Because of what I say, you say should it be worse because it has I say afterwards. You're missing the point. When it's not like because it's a lav here, so therefore it doesn't. It's not strong enough of a azar to get Makkos. The point is that when it's lav that comes after when the asay comes after the lav, the Torah is telling you what your einish is, what your tikkun is. So, but when asay is before, it's not just like there's asay in this pasuk, I can't give him Makkos because it's not good enough. It's not like the lav de chasima. That it's not just a word that there is an asay. It has to be in a way that the Torah says. This asay is coming to fix your lav, and you do not need Makkos afterwards, which is only if it's afterwards, which is only if the asay is after the lav. So there's a machlekes we're going to see in a second that when did you get Makkos? Allah and say when did you get the Makkos? If someone, let's say for example, this thing of Makkos Kushasai, right? So you're talking about a Yisrael who's allowed to take his wife back. When does he get Makkos? When does he get Makkos at the get? He gives the get and they beat him. Or he only gets? No, I'm sorry, nobody holds that. The question is, do you get Makkos at the time that you're mevatel the possibility for asay, or as long as you don't do it, as long as when the bezin stops you, they shove you into bezin and say either give her kedushin or we're going to smack you. There's no like. Maybe I can do it later. Maybe I can do it later. According to Rabbi Yochanan, we're going to see the machlekes in a second. According to Madam Bittel, when I make the bittel, in other words, so if someone makes a neder al das rabbim, that's efshel hafara. If someone makes a neder not to be, he's murder enough from his ex, so he divorces her, and he says, "I'm making a neder al das rabbim not to have enough of her." Now it's efshel, he can't marry her again. So now he's mevatel say. So at that point he gets. At that point, he gets Makkos. Or is it that as soon as the verdict comes in that he's chayiv, they say, okay, you have to. We're going to give you Makkos unless you mekadash right now, you take it back. That's the question. So why? Because if you're going to tell me that the whole point of lav shenitig say. Now, Hanich is going back on a previous point. Again, Hanich l'man Amar that what? Hanich l'man Amar bitl that you could say that a lav shenitig say is that it's coming to be misakin. It's coming to be misakin the lav. How does this work? Okay, if it's coming to be misakin, it. So when I destroy my ability to be misakin the lav, that's when I get Makkos. But if you're going to say that that you have to be kaim right away. So why is it nafka mina? What? How does that work? Let's look at Rashi really quick. That's kind of like back in the memory. Had the Amr called Yama v'hachsakai asisa lav shenitik lasei. V'chavaz l'zman the kiyam asei called Yama. He could do kiyam asei his whole life. This. If you want to, very good. This whole thing of to learn the pasuk of kol yamav, the pasuk says kol yamav. It's only negeya if you hold. That's what it is. If you hold the only way you can be dashing the pasuk of kol yamav is if you hold bittul. That's the only get malchus when you mevatel, because as long as I'm not mevatel the asay, I have my whole life. I could take her back. That's the Gemara is learning that Kol Yom is like a shikol dafka. Like there has to be a matzav of Kol Yom, not mamish, but extended period of time. But according to Manda Amar of kind of like Kama, I don't have Kol Yom. I have to do it right now. As soon as I give the get, I have to say, the Bezin says, okay, Tzaddik, you just gave a get, and you're Chayav Makkos. If you're not going to take it back, we're going to give you Makkos right now. So what's this in the Kol Yom? It's right now. It doesn't make sense to dash in the pasuk and turn the. This is all going backwards, and to say that the lav of Einis is a lav and a in order to make it that the asay is after the lav, I need to have an extended time to be machshah the grusha and not right away. Very good if you want to say that you have kolzman as long as you're not mevatel the asay, you still don't get malchus. Then it makes sense to say that Kol Yamav that you could be machshah the grusha from whenever, and the Kol Yamav turns the asay of the loisiel isha into a lav and nitik asay. The this whole spiel that we're trying to accomplish over here is only in Shittus Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who has to say that Kol Yamav is lav and nitik asay. We're trying to make Einis in lav and nitik asay, right? Because we want it to be that if you don't get malchus on a Einis, which the Brisa says, it's not a kasha on his rule of a lav that asay that's before the lav, you do get malchus. That's the kasha that we're trying to answer, and only in Rabbi Yochanan do I have to figure out how to make Einis a lav and nitik asay, which I come on to this din of Kol Yamav. So Midihu Taima El Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Le Rabbi Yochanan L'Tanai, Rabbi Yochanan said to the Tana, which is not a Tana Dafka, it's somebody who repeats Mishnayos, Tani Bitlei Chayiv Eloi Bitlei Potter. He amends the Brisa to say Bitlei Chayiv Eloi Bitlei Potter. The Tani Tana, we learned a Brisa repeated by a Tana, or a Mishnah repeated by a Tana. Kamei Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Mitzvahs L'Sasei Sheyesh By Kol Masei, any Mitzvahs Asei. She has that Nitik L'Asei that has a Asei attached to it. Kiyem asay shaba potter. If he's makayim the asay, then he's potter on the malchus. Betel asay shaba chayiv. If he's mevatel asay, then he's chayiv. But it's two ends of the spectrum. You have to be makayim it to be potter, and you have to be mevatel to be chayiv. What if he doesn't do anything? That's why the Mishnah doesn't, the Brisa, the Mishnah doesn't make any sense. Amalei Amalei, Rabbi Yochanan said to this Tana, again, this repeater of Mishnah is, Micah Amit, what are you saying? Kiyem potter loy kiyem chayiv. Either say that in order to be potter, you have to be makayim, and if you're not makayim, then you're chayiv, or bita chayiv, v'loy bita potter, or say that if I'm avatal it, then I'm chayiv, and if I'm not avatal, I'm potter. To say that if I'm makayim it, I'm potter, but if I'm avatal it, I'm chayiv, it leaves a whole gray area that's not addressed by the Brisa. And he says, Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan first addressed it has to be one of these two things, and he says, Tani bitlay v'loy bitlay. Learn that if he's avatal it, then he's chayiv. If he's not avatal it, then he's potter. We'll go a little bit further. So now everything's set up. So he has Bitla V'loi Batal makes sense, and you could say that he could take it back his whole life, and that's why the pasuk turns that pasuk Kol Yamav turns the lav of being megarish of you shouldn't send out your wife who's a anusa Kol Yamav. It turns that into a lav hanitik asay, even though the asay was written before the lav of a loy siel isha, loy with a vav. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar Kaima v'loy Kaima. He learns the Mishnah Brisa the other way. Mike and look at machlekes ba'asra safik kamiflagi. Ma'asra v'hasra safik shma asra. There's a big sugi over here. If someone gives asra without knowing for sure that he's going to do it, no, it's not for sure going to come into effect. This asra. So let's break it down. According to Rabbi Yochanan says that Rabbi Yochanan says that Hasra Safik is Hasra. So therefore, I can give him Malchus. That therefore the Hasra that I got, the Hasra that this guy got by the Hasra that this guy got by the original Aveira of by the get. By the get, I've seen to in the sign on his get, also told him, by the way, I just want to let you know, it says in the pasuk, you're not allowed to send that your wife, and if you do this, you're going to get Malchus. So it doesn't have to be the same people. I'm just making a joke. Yeah. So he gets a sword right then, because yesterday he got a sword by the Maisa. You can't get a sword like on a random Tuesday. By the way, just know you can't be Michal Shabbos. Asura has to be by the Maisa. So by the get, he has to be warned, if you give your wife a get, you will be Chayiv Makkos. And then, but when does he actually get clapped? He actually gets clapped when he does this neder ad asravim or whatever it is that he's mevatel the. I'm assuming that if he shoots his wife in the head, he also gets a get, or if he can't marry one of her krivim. So I think the only bittul Rashi gives an example that he's mudar hana and oifen that you can't be made for. I'm trying to think, there's another way to be. Okay, not offhand, but that's only one example, right? So if he's mevatel this assay, then he gets malchus. He doesn't need another asra. The OG asra, the original asra that he got from when he by the get is good, because even though it's a asra suffix, I don't know if he's gonna bring back his wife or not. So, but if Rabbi Yechon holds it's good, Shalka says it's not good. So therefore, why he has to learn out kain like kain. He has to learn like this. A guy gives his wife a get. They're going to bring him to Bezdin, and at the same time, they're going to mun him for the get, and they're going to say, if you don't give it to him right, if you're not makadosh right now, you will get. Hold on one second. Right. Oh, that's the part. It's not just. It's as soon as he does. It's a more fundamental. There's a little bit of an argument more fundamentally. As long as Reish Lakish holds this kind of like Chaim is on a more basic level. You're chayiv right away. The person divorces his wife, he's chayiv makkos. Now, if you're going to go out and you're going to be mekayim your wife, you're going to get off your makkos. But if you're going to go bring back your wife, the makkos is going to go off. But at the time that you give the get, you're 100% chayiv makkos. Rabbi Yochanan says no, you're not chayiv makkos, because the whole thing is only if you're mevatel the asay. So according to Reish Lakish, at the second he gave the get, he's already chayiv makkos 100%, and it's a sor vadai. So again, Reish Lakish holds that a sor suffix in a sor. Masav as a suffix shma asor, masav as a suffix loy shma asor. Reish Lakish says it's not asor, and therefore he has to learn that it's kaim like kaim. Is the understanding is that he's chayiv malchus right asay, so it's not asor suffix, because right now he's chayiv malchus. He gives his wife a get, he's chayiv malchus. Then this is a separate Indian. If you want to, when you go to Bezdin, you're about to get patched. It said last chance, buddy. If you marry your wife back, if you're machzor grushasai, then we will waive the malchus. But it's not that he's not chayiv in the malchus. Rabbi Yochanan holds that he's not chayiv in the malchus until he's about to say. That's the fundamental difference. Then it's my mind that when I looked at Rashi, I remember. Okay. But again, Marsav Asor Safik Shma Asor, Umar Savar Safik Loy Shma Asor. But Azlu Tamayu, Litma Shur Shaichel. Okay, this we'll pick up tomorrow already, because this goes on further down, and it's getting late. Okay, thank you so much for coming and staying, and I hope it was clear.
Thank you very much, Mo. I love you.